Hey guys, welcome back to an all new episode of a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. I am your host, Matt Kazakowski, and alongside me today is the human highlight himself, Isaiah Moore. Isaiah, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. And like I said before we started, man, your nickname, the human highlight, lives to all expectations. You are absolutely incredible in that ring. So I'm so excited to learn more about who Isaiah Moore is and the life of pro wrestling for you. But yeah, man, I'm very stoked for this. So let's get started. What was life like growing up for Isaiah Moore?
Uh, I'm still pretty much the same. I grew up watching wrestling, sports. I played high school basketball. I played football all the way growing up, but I was just always a really big wrestling fan. Like me and my dad. I can't remember a time where wrestling wasn't involved. I was either wrestling with them or we're watching VHS or DVD on Stone Cold and The Rock and whatever. Me and my brother fighting in the living room all the time. Like that's what.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all we did with our brothers, right? We fought with them after wrestling. I mean, that's all we did. I remember that's funny because I remember one story like my brother and I like we used to do like wrestling moves and stuff all the time, and I put him in a sleeper hold once, and he didn't want to like tap out, so his nose started bleeding and he passed out. And I was like, dude, you should have just tapped. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, man. I mean, doing that stuff growing up was so much fun. I mean, but you got to do it with your dad too, which was really cool. I mean, I wish I got to do that stuff, but
Oh, he used to get into it, man. He used to like me and my brother would be wrestling. He'd come home from work and he'd shut off all the lights and pretend he was the Undertaker. Like,
that's awesome. Did he do the ding noise too?
oh yeah, and we used to have like the our computer was right in the next room, so we'd just play music and he'd turn that on.
That's
Oh yeah.
awesome. That's awesome, man. That's a great childhood right there, especially when you have that kind of like life growing up, like music, everything, like the whole shebang. Um, what was one of the favorite moves that you ever put on your brother or your dad? Like, what was one of your go-to ones?
I didn't get a lot of moves on my dad. He was I didn't get too many. He's too big for that. Uh I used to love as much as my dad would be the Undertaker. I used to love being the Undertaker. So we'd sit there. I used to love doing the snake eyes. That was my favorite thing to do.
Oh, dude. So I gotta ask you, how did you do the snake eyes at home? Like, what did you do? Like on a dresser, or what did you
We
do?
had like a stairwell, and the stairwell was our like corner posts. So I'd pop him up there, and I'd
That's
hit the
awesome.
door as the ropes and give him the big.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, shit. I wish I could have done that back in the day. Mine was the walls of Jericho. Like I always had to put my brother in the walls of Jericho. That was my go-to move. I couldn't ever do anything else. I remember I gave my brother a German suplex one day, and
Jeez.
I threw him on his bed, and the whole bed just collapsed. And I was like, damn, that sucks. But yeah, I mean, shit, doing that, man, is so much fun growing up. Like, so I mean, we had the same childhood, obviously, with wrestling. Now I know you mentioned that was a big part of your life. When did you first really start watching wrestling? Do you remember exactly that moment that got you into it?
Um, like I said earlier, like wrestling's always like I can't really remember a time where I wasn't watching it, but I can say that the time that really I sat down and was like, holy crap, like I want to be a wrestler. Was probably I was WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart and Steve Austin. That's my favorite match of all time. That's where it opened my eyes like, oh my gosh. You know what I
Who
mean?
who were you going for in that match?
Oh, Stone Cold all day. That's
All
the
day.
GOAT. I'm sorry, I can't.
No, so I got to ask you this question now that we talked about Bret Hart, because it's always like a back and forth between people. Are you a Shawn Michaels guy or a Bret Hart guy?
I'm a Shawn Michaels guy. I love Shawn Michaels. That's one of my biggest inspirations. I love Bret Hart, don't get me wrong. He's great, one of the greatest of all time, but I'm definitely a Shawn Michaels guy.
Oh, through and through, man. And it's funny because like, I remember that match, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, and just everything about it was fantastic. The whole storytelling was great. And I think that's what really kickstarted Stone Cold to being in the main
Oh,
event status. Um, Stone Cold, one of the all-time greats, can't go wrong with them. So that was that moment where you really felt like you wanted to be a pro wrestler.
oh, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. So I know you mentioned Stone Cold, and that match was your go-to. Who were
Mhm.
some of your favorites growing up?
Uh, Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, Shawn, John Cena, Randy Orton. Those are probably like the main. I loved Batista too. Uh, but yeah, those are like the main guys that I love to watch.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, those were one of the best. I remember the first match, and I tell this story all the time, like Booker T Christian for the IC title was the first match I ever seen, and I was just blown away. Like, and it's funny because the match before that I missed, and it was, and I just talked about this on one of my shows recently. It was the Dudley Boys versus I don't know if you remember them, but Rodney Mack and Christopher Nowitzki.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's so random having those two together. But I mean, that whole pay-per-view was fantastic. I mean, it's what dived me right into pro wrestling, and I never looked back. But I mean, I'm right there with you, right? You had guys like Randy Orton and John Cena who really killed it in the early 2000s to mid 2000s till
Oh
now.
yeah.
I mean, still fantastic, still doing their thing. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, still doing their stuff backstage. But I mean, man, those times were so awesome. I don't think like so. I got to ask you this now because I know you mentioned Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista. Was Evolution one of your favorite factions of all time?
Oh yeah. I was my guy was Randy Orton. Like, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing. I loved Evolution because to me that was like the closest thing that you could have got to the Four Horsemen. You
Oh
know, I
yeah.
mean, one of the Four Horsemen was in it, but it was just the way that it flowed, like the suits, the video packages, like it was just I loved it. Randy Orton was my go-to dude, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. And so you obviously know that the whole backstory, it wasn't supposed to be Batista, it was supposed to be Mark Jindrak.
Yeah.
So
Well,
how do you think that would have played out if it was Mark Jindrak instead of Batista?
I don't I don't think it would have been the same.
No,
I
definitely not.
mean, like you can't Batista's the man. You can't replace that. You couldn't. There's no way it would have been the same. Mark Jindrak, he looked great and all that, but I don't think we would have got the same effect.
Oh no, definitely. And I think it just gelled, man, so well. Like that is my all-time favorite faction. I love
Yeah.
Evolution, so anytime I can talk about them, I will. And it's funny though that we kind of talked about two of these guys, Randy Orton and Mark Jindrak, because I'm watching your matches and stuff. Your drop kick is fantastic, by the way.
Thank
Like
you.
one of the best drop kicks I've ever seen. I shit you not. So I got to ask you because now that we're talking about Randy Orton and Mark Jindrak, because both of them both have great drop kicks. Who are your top three drop kicks of all time?
Randy Orton's my favorite. Um, Bob Holly had a really good drop kick. I like Bob Holly, and then I'd probably, oh man, probably Ricochet, just because he can jump out the gym.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. You know, and it's funny because you mentioned that like Orton's was great, Bob Holly's was amazing. I'm gonna have to put yours up there, man, because it's spotless. Like I shit you not. Anybody listening to this, Isaiah Moore's dropkick is fucking fantastic. I
Second that I
absolutely love it, man. Like I was watching your matches and I'm like, dude, just the height you get on it and the precision on it, perfect. Like I don't you don't see that as much anymore. And like you see like drop kicks with one leg or you know, not extending the legs as far, but yours is picture perfect, man. Clean, clean, clean. Um, so back to you know what we were talking about. I know you mentioned, you know, that match, Stone Cold and Bret Hart being where you wanted to get into the industry. Where did you originally train at and who trained you?
so I trained out actually in South Bend. So I'm like right now we do training in Michigan, but I actually trained in South Bend through EHF with Steve Sterling Jr. and Tyler Matthews, and I trained for about a year and a half, and I trained for a year. The year and a half was just more polishing than anything, but yeah, I trained there for about a year, and then started shows. My first show was August 2016.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I love it. So you got your start in 2016. So when the pandemic hit in 2020, um, how did that affect you as trying to break out and being a newer performer with less than 5 years under your belt?
Um, it was challenging, obviously, like with the restrictions and things like that. But I actually was able to get certain opportunities. That's where I started to get into Wisconsin more. Did a few of the no crowd shows and stuff like that. And to me, I as much as it sucked, obviously not having fans there, because that's all it is for me, is fan, like the
Oh,
reaction, the connection that you make. But to not have them there, I took it more as a challenge to learn how to work the camera. As everybody wants to be signed on TV. Well, I gotta learn how to do this. So it was real challenging, and trying to branch out really wasn't much to be able to, 'cause being shut down like that. But yeah, I just took it as a challenge.
absolutely. And I think that's the smart way to look at it, is how to work the camera, because I shit you not, you are definitely somebody who is going to be signed within the next couple of years. I guarantee that. And that is definitely something you got to look at, right? You have to look at all the where the cameras are going to be and how to work it. And you have to work the crowds and stuff like that. But the way to work the crowds is working the camera. I definitely understand that too. And you get more people behind you, especially, during that time, you get those matches up on YouTube and stuff like that. More people are understanding more about you as an
Mhm.
in-ring wrestler. So I definitely understand how hard it was. And I know a lot of people, who broke into the business around the time of that pandemic era. And it was very hard, and I think AEW did something very smart by getting a lot of indie guys for AEW Dark and Elevation, by giving guys that opportunity. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
so many wrestlers out there that didn't get a chance or nobody knew about. I loved it. Not the biggest AEW fan. I will say that, but Dark and Elevation changed the game for me because it gave me guys that I never even knew.
Absolutely.
Um,
It created a platform that I feel like the wrestling world needed.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
100%.
being able to work with them multiple times, like you can't take moments like that for granted. It's just it's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And here and the thing about that one was too is like you got guys like people that I've watched for years, like JT Dunn. I don't know if you're familiar with JT Dunn, but he's wrestled for years. And when he came onto Dark or Elevation, whatever it was, like a year or so ago, people are like, "Oh, I don't know who that is," and I'm like, "I don't understand how, but I get it." You know, and even though like Dark and Elevation gave like wrestlers only a couple bit of moments as offense, because it was more of a, the main star would be the one winning. It kind of made you look at somebody and be like, that guy's a star, I can tell. And you go watch their matches on YouTube and you start familiarizing yourself with those wrestlers. And that's how I found guys like Jason Hotch and stuff like that, is because of matches like that opportunity. And I found you through a match through Jason Hotch, which was awesome. And then here we are. We're talking now because
Oh,
I
really?
had to get you on the show. So who were the original trainers at that school?
That's who they were. It was just
Okay.
Steve. There was just two.
So those were the trainers. Awesome. Did you have any other standouts in that class with you that are wrestling now?
I would say one big one was just the Celtic Nightmare.
Okay.
He's chosen to stay more on the local scene, but he was a guy that really helped me a lot, get out of my shell and get comfortable. Like, I was able to trust him. We really grew together a lot, and he's awesome. I I wish we were able to travel more, and he was able to get on some of these shows, because he definitely would be a guy that he could do something.
Oh, 100%. And I think, more people after they hear his name are going to go check him out, because I'm not even familiar with who that is. So I'm excited to learn more about him too, especially if he's somebody that taught you what you were doing. What was one of the hardest things that you overcame through training?
Um, getting comfortable with self image. Being a smaller guy, it was definitely one of those things. I used to dread taking my shirt off before a match.
I got
And
you.
you know, but it was one of those things. It was just like, it's wrestling. You just got to do it. And a lot of the, like Tyler and them, they were really positive influence on that, and it helped a lot get out of that shell.
Oh, absolutely. No, and 100%. And dude, I mean, I see your Instagram, I see your Facebook, like you're putting in the work and it's 100% awesome. You know, I am, hey, dude, I'm supporting you for whatever you're doing because you're killing it. Um, so I mean that's awesome, man, is learning those steps and overcoming that. I mean, you seem more comfortable with what you're doing out there now. So I mean, keep up the great work there. Um, so we talked about your drop kick being one of my personal favorites now. Your move set is very fun to watch. Like and anybody that's listening to this, if you watch Isaiah Moore's matches, you understand where I'm coming from. Your move set is incredible. Like I think one of my favorite moves that I've ever seen is the victory roll double stomp that you do from the outside springboarding through. I think that's fantastic. Like just so smooth and precise. Like I feel like watching Finn Balor's isn't as impressive as yours. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to toot your own horn, but I mean, somebody's got to, right? It, and dude, I watched one of your matches last night, and that satellite second rope DDT that you hit is so smooth. Like, man, it's so crazy to watch those because I've never seen somebody hit it so smoothly like that. What was it like for you to take those moves and first do them and to get comfortable with them? Because those moves are not something that is like easy to do.
So honestly, with those moves, it's more just go with it. You know what I mean? You gotta sometimes you just gotta say screw it and go. And
I feel that.
no, like there's no, if I'm second guessing, I'm just not gonna do it. And it's like, I've done a satellite DDT a million times. You know, why not just get creative with it? You know, see it somewhere, you make it special and make it your own, and that's
It,
how it goes.
it was beautiful, man. Like I'm saying, man, like I love satellite DDTs. Like tornado DDTs, satellite DDTs are probably one of my favorite moves. So
Yeah.
watching you do it from where the guy's in a position of the second rope like that, it was just so smooth because I was like, okay, there's no way he's gonna land this perfectly and just spike. I was like, shit, I'll stop talking now. But yeah, I mean, very impressive. Your like I said, your nickname says it all. Human highlight. Like I could watch highlight reels of your moveset all friggin' day. What is one of your favorite moves to do, and what is one of your favorite moves to take?
Uh, that's a good question. I think one of my favorite moves to do is probably it's a rolling DVD. Just I don't know. It's fun to bounce off and be right where I need to be and get in
Yep.
position. Big frog splash. And then as far as taking moves, like man, it sounds weird. I get probably a crossbody.
You
It's
like taking a crossbody?
I know it's a simple move, but like that or a crossroads. I've taken
Oh,
those. Yeah, I watch. I think anytime I was in the ring with Joe Alonzo, he snuck them in. I got. I'm after you know. But yeah, he's caught me a few times with that. But that's a fun one to take.
oh no, and you know what? Like you said, the rolling Death Valley driver, I think, is one of the best moves ever. I love a good Death Valley driver. Don't get me wrong. I think Perry Saturn's, Carly Bravo actually tweeted about Perry Saturn earlier, and like his was the best all time.
Yeah,
But the rolling Death Valley driver is so cool because you could set up for so many follow-up moves afterwards. And like, I've seen you do like a kick, a super kick afterwards. I've seen you do other shit afterwards. And it's like, man, you could set up for a top rope maneuver afterwards. You could go for the like running knee or, whatever you want to do. I mean, sky's the limit after it because you position yourself in so many different ways. I love it, man. I think the first time I really seen that move, and I don't know if I'm going to get canceled for this one or not, was Velveteen Dream.
yeah.
I I loved it, man. And I set it up for my wrestling video games is I'll do a tag team, right? Every year, every new game. And the one is a rolling Death Valley driver to a frog splash as well. So it's like perfect
Yeah,
combo.
too.
Yep, perfect combo. I love
Yeah.
it, dude. And it sets it up so well because he positions himself sideways afterwards, and it's like perfect. So I gotta ask you, who's got the best frog splash of all time?
Oh, that's a tough one. Uh, as much as I love, as much as I love Eddie Guerrero, I gotta give it to Rob Van Dam.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he was the way he was even able to move himself in the air, and it didn't matter where you were in the ring position. He's fine, like he's getting there. Like
Oh yeah. And
he,
it's funny that you mentioned that because I just watched the clip that he did it with Austin and Kurt Angle both in the ring.
yeah,
And it looked like he was gonna hit Austin and just
floats right
hit
on over.
Angle. I was like, dude, that scared me a little bit for Austin's face. Like, I didn't know if Van Dam's leg was gonna hit him or what. But yeah, I do agree. I think Van Dam's is great. I think Guerrero's definitely follows,
Oh
and I
yeah,
think the next two is Leo Rush and Montez Ford. I don't.
Montez gets up there. He
Oh,
does.
dude, the height he gets is crazy, but the athleticism that man has is insanely good too. Like I've got a Street Profits poster right here because I'm a big fan of theirs, and I mean I've been saying it since day one. Ford is,
Oh, he's gonna go.
oh
He's gonna
yeah, but you can't take away from Dawkins either. So
no.
I mean,
He's. I've noticed just watching in the last few months, he's gotten a lot more in shape and everything too. He's stepping up in a
oh
big
yeah,
way.
oh yeah. I think it's because people have talked about it so much that Tez is going to go places and leave Dawkins behind. I think Dawkins is trying to make sure he doesn't get left behind,
Right.
which
No,
that's
you
what
need
we
that.
needed to do.
No, you need that.
Oh, 100%. So I was watching one of these matches, and we're going to talk about this man for a minute here because I think he's another wrestler who does not get the credit he deserves either. Was your match against Trey Lamar?
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so tell me a little bit about that. What was that like wrestling in a ring with somebody like Trey Lamar or somebody else who does not get appreciated the way he deserves? What went into your guys' match? Like, the chemistry there was there 100%. Tell me what you enjoyed about that match the most.
I love the whole match. That was actually the first time he and I had ever had a one-on-one. And it was real. Everything was just smooth. You know what I mean? Like just even talking in the back, it just felt like the chemistry was going to be there, and you can't really, you can't replace that. That's awesome. When you can just start talking, and a guy's like, "No, this looks good. No, this looks good," and like you're bouncing off each other's move set and ideas. Like it's awesome. So going into it, I had a gut feeling, it's going to be one of them good nights.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Absolutely. And that match, I mean, absolutely incredible. I loved your match against Myron Reed, another great one. We seen you get the win. I wish that match would have been a little longer because it deserved to be a little longer, but it was still fun. You got the win on that one. I seen your match against Alex Kane. I mean, you've been in there with some names that, I mean, if people are really into the indies, they're higher names as well. And
yeah,
you've been absolutely killing it. Um, my favorite, like I said before we started, is your matches with Jason Hotch.
yeah.
The
That's
chemistry is there 100%. Um, I want to ask you this. If
Mhm.
you can choose a dance partner that you think you have the most like chemistry with in wrestling, who is it and why?
That's a really tough question. Honestly, as far as matches, it'd have to be. He and I have. I can't even explain the chemistry. Like, we were kind of coming up at the same time, and just watching him kill and stuff like that. That just, you get that competitive nature, and it's like, man, he's doing this. I need to do this. So and then just working together. Anytime he and I have been in the ring together, it's like clockwork. I'm not stressed about anything. I'm not worried about anything. I know he's going to be there for whatever I need him to be. And like, you just, you can't beat that. So, yeah, I'd wrestle him anywhere, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember when I did my show with him, it was right before, I think, or right after you guys both started with AAW.
Yeah.
And like, I think you guys were supposed to team up or something like that when I was talking to him about everything going on. What was it like working with AEW? Because I'm very familiar with their work. I've watched them for years. You know, I was very excited to see you and Hotch both get to go over there and do your thing. What's it like working for AEW?
AEW.
AAW.
AAW. Oh, I love AAW. That's probably my favorite place to work right now. Honestly,
Really?
environment there is crazy. The crowd's rowdy. Like that energy there. The locker room there. 100, like 10 out of 10. Recommend.
Oh
You
yeah. And I'm
know,
trying to get to a show, man, because I want to so bad. Like I'm not far from it, but it's like I can't get there. I can't get the time off. And I'm like, damn, because I need to get there. Like you're
oh,
there. I got guys like Stephen Wolf there, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I
There's
got
nothing. I absolutely love it there. You
oh,
know
absolutely.
the talent that you get to talk to and just you hear their stories and you get to bounce off some of the some of the best talent around, like period, in independent wrestling. Like I love it there.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so fun to watch. And it's funny because it was with another guest that I had when I first started my show almost 3 years ago. There's a guy named Shane Hollister, and I don't know if you're familiar with Shane. He's been at AEW, but he was the first independent match I've ever seen in my entire life. So when I knew who he was and I started watching AEW, I was like, this is probably the best independent pro wrestling organization ever.
Oh yeah.
It just seems like you said, the atmosphere is just great.
Oh, it is.
Um,
It's unlike any other locker room that I've or any other promotion I've ever worked for. It's off the charts. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. And you got such big names coming over there too. Like we've seen, Josh Alexander, we've seen Ace Austin, we've seen so many guys come, Ray Phoenix. We've seen so many people come through those doors of AEW, and it makes it just feel so much more special.
Mhm.
And I definitely love it, man. Like you said, just watching it, you could tell the crowd's really behind what they're doing. And they give people that are still trying to get their name out there a bigger opportunity, a bigger platform. It's great.
Oh, it is.
Absolutely great. So I know we talked about, who your favorite dance partner was. I know we talked about AAW. I know you've recently have been working with Black Label Pro as well. That's 10 minutes away from my apartment. So I'm very excited about that. I did not know they blocked me off Twitter. Long story. But I still support them. I still love them. I still love what they do. I definitely want to come to see one of the shows that you're going to be at one of these days as well. Tell me what it's like working for Black Label Pro as well.
I love working for them. Mikey's been really great to me. They're another place where a great environment, great locker room, a lot of great talent. Like I got to mix it up with Xavier Sky. He's a young guy coming up. He's real skilled in there. I had a good match with him, and then Zaya Brookside
Yep.
was in there with her in a triple
Absolutely
threat.
love her. She's incredible.
Oh, she can hit hard.
Yeah. For a little
So
girl, she could not.
yeah, she's.
Yep.
But it's just I love it there. It's you never. It's one of those environments you never know what's going to happen, but you know that it's going to be one of the best shows that you can see.
Oh,
The talent
100%.
there and kills it every time. That's where I had my match with Myron. So I'm
Yep.
real. I wanted that match for a long time.
Which arena was that? Because I know it's not the one in Crown Point, Indiana. It was somewhere else.
I'm not. I can't remember where exactly it was, but it was a big expo. Man, I gotta sit there. You forget more than you remember.
Oh, definitely. No, I definitely get it. And I know Black Label Pro definitely started in Crown Point, and they're moving everywhere now. Like they're going places, and I definitely love to see it. I've been to a couple shows of theirs live. I've had some fun experiences. I've met like Brian Pillman Jr., which was really cool. I remember who was it? Oh, Andrew Everett. I don't know if you're familiar with Andrew Everett, but when he was walking past, I've been a fan of his for years too. When he was walking past after his match, like I had my hand out for a high five, and he's like, "Nope," and just walked past, and he comes back to me, and he's like, "All right, you're wearing a Hangman Adam Page shirt, so I got to shake your hand." So that was cool. I met Alex Shelley outside the bathroom once there,
Nah,
which was very interesting. Had a long conversation with him. Really cool, man. Alex Shelley, I think, is the greatest professional wrestler of all time. So that was really cool. But man, the atmosphere at Black Label Pro is out of this world. It's
absolutely.
so fantastic. And it's funny because if you watch there's a match out there. It's a match with a pro wrestler named Jason Cade. I don't know if you're familiar with Jason. But he had a match for Black Label Pro, and I'll send it to you if you're interested. But he he threw a wrestler into the lap of me and my ex-fiance during the show, and I had my beer in my right hand and I threw it in her face on accident. It was the best, man. And I got to talk to Jason about it, and I was like, dude, so she's pissed at me. So he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, don't worry about it, because shit happens. But man, I love it. It's such a cool crowd, and it's just so in your face there as well, that it's so much fun. And if anybody's listening, they can definitely check out Black Label Pro, AAW. Both are fantastic organizations. You could check Isaiah Moore there as well. There you go. That's a good plug, right? I think. So I do have to ask you, outside of pro wrestling, do you have any other hobbies or any collections that really resonate with you that you enjoy doing?
I like football, so I watch football. I like watching basketball. I'm a big sports guy. Um, I don't. I love going to the gym. That's my hobby.
I dig it. Are you
I'm a simple person when it comes. Like, I don't have a lot of crazy things. Like, every now and then I collect action figures. I make my fiance go get them.
Hey,
But
there's nothing wrong with that, right?
well, we're all kids on the inside. I just got an Ultimate Warrior the other day. I'm pretty happy about it.
Do
But
you just collect wrestling figures, or do you collect other figurines outside of pro wrestling?
just wrestling ones. My
Just wrestling.
when I was younger, my dad had a big box of them, and they were the old rubber ones and stuff like that. Like, I had Masked Kane, Undertaker, Road Warriors,
That's awesome.
all sorts of whatever. And he gave those to me, so I collect them now. So at some point, when I feel that I can trust my kids with them, they can take them.
Yeah, I think that's the best bet, because I think you don't want them to be broken or anything like that, for sure. Do you remember the first wrestling figure you ever got?
It was a Stone Cold.
Stone Cold.
That I remember. Yeah, it was one of those rubber Stone Colds. Like, it was at first my dad had held on to the box or whatever, but Stone Cold was my favorite wrestler ever. So it was one where he had jeans and the vest on, and that was my go-to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I never had those rubber ones, but I used to have like the Ruthless Aggression figures.
Yeah.
I think the first figure I ever got, there was two of them. It was a Sting action figure and a Devon Dudley action figure. No idea why I just chose randomly Devon Dudley, but I was like, hey, this one looks cool. I'm gonna get it. And then I stopped playing with them because those were the only two I ever bought. And then I really got into pro wrestling around 2003, and I started buying them like crazy. And I played with them all through high school. So I want to say I played with them probably till like 2009. And then about 5 years ago, I started collecting them, man. And I just got four of them in the mail yesterday, and I was like, holy shit, these are awesome. Like the Braun Breaker figure and the Scott Steiner figure, those ones that just came out, the details on them are friggin' incredible. It's so crazy how lifelike these figures look. Do you buy AEW figures too, or just WWE?
I, I've only bought WWE. Like, I have the Cody Rhodes that was from AEW. That's the only ever one I've bought from there. But I buy a lot of WWEs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, man. I mean, I buy both now, unfortunately, because there's a lot of figures that I've seen that are like, I have to get like Kip Sabian,
Yeah.
amazing. The Butcher and the Blade ones that are about to come out look incredible, so I have to get those. I mean, I'm like, there's some that I really need because I know they're not going to go to WWE ever.
Right.
So I need to get those figures. I mean, I'm kind of bummed I got the Jade Cargill one because now she's there, and I know they're going to absolutely crush her figure when she
Oh
comes out
yeah.
with one. I guarantee she's going to get a defining moments figure as soon as possible. There's no question. Um, so I do have to ask. I know we talked about the hobbies, we talked about that. Um, your attire in general, the attire that you have, I mean, all customs. Um, it's all themed based, you can tell, right? So I want to ask you what your favorite attire is that you have ever worn to the ring, and what it resembled, what inspired that gimmick and or that attire, and what you want to do next as far as attire wise.
Um, I probably had two favorites that are probably tied right now. I had this pair of red long tights, red and blue and silver, and they were themed like Shawn Michaels, kind of 98 going
Yep.
into Mania. And then the set of gear that I have now, the red and blue is supposed to be themed like Superman, and Superman was always that was my dad's favorite comic book hero. He's got a Superman tattoo. I've got a Superman tattoo. Like, so just one of those things to remind you to keep going because you got, Superman there.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. And that's awesome. I mean, to have the same tattoo as your dad, that's incredible.
yeah, I got to keep it in the family, I guess. Hopefully, my any of that. But no, and then the Shawn Michaels gear, that was just because I love Shawn Michaels. Like his presence in the ring, just how he didn't have a bad match.
Never.
Just it, the
I can't say never. That tag match that him and Triple H had against Kane and Taker.
talk about.
Leave that one in the past. He stayed retired when he fought Taker a long time ago.
But no, that inspired those two. Those are probably my favorite sets that I've ever worn.
That's definitely awesome. And I was watching your match that you had yesterday against Jamal King, and that was the first time I ever seen him wrestle. Like, so I was very impressed with him too. And it was cool to watch your attire, which was the Superman, versus his that was Black Panther-ish. So it was Marvel versus DC, and it was awesome. Like at first I couldn't tell, like, and I was going back, like, I'm like, is his Spider-Man or Superman? Like
Spider-Man a lot.
I couldn't tell, but I was like, I hope it's Superman because this would be so much cooler if it's
Yeah.
a Marvel versus DC. And it told a great story, man. Like, just that match alone was fantastic too. And I hope we get to see you wrestle him more because I think the chemistry there was great as well. What would you love to do as far as your next attire? Like, is there any thoughts on the next one that you would love to do?
I actually have some coming, getting ordered right now. Should be relatively in the next few months. Um, I don't really have like a theme for this one. It's just more of getting different colors and adding more of myself into it. So
Gotcha.
I'll leave that at that. I don't want to give away too much on it, but I think it'll be something everybody will like to.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, man, because your attire is just so colorful. I dig it. There's three factors in professional wrestling that it comes for me is promo skills, in-ring skills, and attire.
Yep.
And I could tell you got all three. I mean, I really haven't heard much of your promos, but by talking you here, could definitely tell you got it there. We see your in-ring work, absolutely incredible. Your attire just speaks for itself as well. So I definitely think you're going to go somewhere within the next 2 years. I definitely see Isaiah Moore's name in lights.
Well,
We definitely need to see that. If you can have one dream opponent against any wrestler ever, who would it be?
is this like any time period?
Any time period.
Ooh. uh, Probably Stone Cold. I want to say Shawn Michaels because that's a real tough one. Like that's like really tied together. But yeah, if I had to choose one or the other, probably be Stone Cold first, because that's who made me fall in love with wrestling. And then Shawn Michaels, because I know that would just be one of the best matches ever. Like, I'm not.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a highlight for sure. Um, just thinking about this now, and I didn't put any thought of this before. I would love to see Isaiah Moore versus Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, that would be a really fun match.
That would be great. I would love to see that match. I think it would be really good. Now that he's back on WWE television, hey,
Anything's
Triple H, Isaiah Moore's your guy. Just saying. But yeah, man, I can't wait to see what happens with you in your future. I really think the sky's the limit for you. 100%. I know you've been around for about 7 years now in the business, but man, I know you're going to absolutely kill it even more. Looking forward to see what happens for the rest of 2023 for you. Looking forward to see what 2024, 2025 bring for you as well. I definitely know we're going to see more highlights in the near future. Isaiah, do you want to tell the fans where they could find you at on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at _human highlight. You can find me on Twitter at Isaiah_Moore H. And then Facebook is just Isaiah Moore.
Awesome. Guys, please make sure you go follow Isaiah. He's definitely one of the best going today. I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Isaiah is definitely a human highlight, 100%. And if you want to see another beautiful drop kick, just watch his matches because, like I said, it's the best. Isaiah, it was so much fun getting to know you, getting to know your life in pro wrestling, getting to know exactly where you're at and where you want to go. It was awesome time getting to know you. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Yeah,
I look forward to possibly doing this again in the future.
Hey, anytime, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to the future with you.
Absolutely. Guys, until next time, my name was Matt Kozakowski. This is the human highlight himself, Isaiah Moore. Take care, guys.